just $49.98. That's right. You can get queen, king, split king, cow king, any size and any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, guess what? They're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive $100 in free digital gifts. So go to mypillow.com and use my promo code Bruce to get Giza Dream Bed Sheets at unheard of savings. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce. MyPillow.com, promo code Bruce.
Hey, welcome in. Getting ready to start the show. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Nice to have you join me on a Tuesday for the Bruce Hooley Show. Appreciate your time. Donald Trump is in the Middle East. The latest Joe Biden book coming out with not shocking revelations. I mean, are any of us shocked that Biden's aides thought, if Joe gets elected to a second term, we're probably going to have to wheel him around in a wheelchair? That's not surprising. What is surprising to me is that they didn't realize that if he's in the condition where he has to be wheeled around in a wheelchair, maybe it'd be a good idea if he didn't run for president. We will have that. We will have the details on Trump and Saudi Arabia and whether he will go to Turkey to meet with Zelensky and Putin over the weekend. But we start, as we do whenever we have events that merit it, right here at home in Central Ohio. We had last night the fourth teenager murdered in Columbus since the first of the year. I should say at least the fourth, because I think that number is low, but it is confirmed that it's at least the fourth. He's a 19-year-old, which, according to one source, matches the entire total of last year, which I also find low. I think the city has a way of classifying deaths of teenagers in particular to downplay the issue. Does anybody believe that only 4 teenagers died in shootings last year in the city of Columbus? I don't believe that. I AI'd it, and that's the number that came back, but I got to believe it's higher than that. But we do know, and let's say it's correct, there were only four last year. I sound like a Democrat talking about, the violence against white farmers in South Africa. But no, 4 is a lot. 4 is a lot of people that have their lives snuffed out before they turn 20 years old. But we have already had 4 this year, which is, we still got plenty of time to keep up our 1 per month average. But let's focus, shall we, first of all, on our Columbus City Council, which is always concerned, I don't deny they're concerned, about people in the city who are struggling to make ends meet. You can debate, and I have debated and laughed at the term affordable housing, but City Council is obsessed with helping the poor. They're not obsessed with solving the problems of the poor, but they are obsessed with doing things that can be portrayed, because they try to portray them, as smart, caring, compassionate. What is this latest effort that I applaud the objective, but as with everything that the all-Democrat City Council does, I find many holes in the strategy behind it. They have now appropriated $1.5 million for legal aid to help tenants in the city of Columbus facing evictions. We have a record number of evictions in Franklin County, or at least had that in 2024, and we are ahead of that pace this year. There were 25,000 people evicted in Columbus last year. Okay, so why do you get evicted? You get evicted because you're not paying your rent. Now, these are people who are renting from private landlords, because the city of Columbus, if they owned the housing, they certainly would not allow them to be evicted. And if they were evicted in 2024 and it was in federal housing, that would have been under the Biden administration. And they're not going to evict anybody because that's their voting bloc, right? The poor and those who can't, don't, won't work and pay their bills. Now, let me just say up front that I have empathy for anyone who cannot pay their bills. My wife and I have encountered at various times in our marriage. Job difficulties that imperiled our ability to pay our bills. We never were homeless. We had people who would help us if we got into that situation. It was never a dire situation where we're facing eviction or missed a payment. But most people, at least during the 9% inflation of Joe Biden or at interim periods in their lives, unless you're super, super privileged and super, super fortunate, blessed to have a high income, you might know what it's like to struggle to make ends meet. Now, I feel really doubly bad for the people who oftentimes find themselves in this situation because they are often single moms. I think being a single mom, single dad are the toughest roles that a person can play in the world. So it's not that I'm unsympathetic. It's that I believe strongly that if you just hand someone a benefit, if you just give them money to pay for their eviction lawyer, they're probably going to come to count on that as a backstop in any future situations where they face this kind of peril. I've read several stories on this, chronicling the decision made by City Council last night to give $1.5 million to represent people in eviction proceedings. And I don't see anything in there, and the reason I don't see anything in there is because it's not in there, requiring anything of the people to whom you are giving money or a free attorney. I don't see anything in there. Wouldn't it be, no, cancel that. It would be a much better way of going about this if the people who were getting the legal representation they don't have the financial resources to pay for, if they were required to do something to earn it. I really don't care if it's picking up trash in the city, if it's scrubbing graffiti off of buildings, if it's working in nursing homes. There's a lot of places out there that need help. There are a lot of jobs out there that could be done. Clean up blighted neighborhoods. I would love this program a lot more if it ingrained a sense of responsibility and a sense of accomplishment a person gains from working. Work in and of itself. I've told this story before. I'll tell it again. When I was a kid, we had a fairly big yard. We mowed it by push mower. And I would notice at the end of a Saturday, particularly, these are the days that I noticed it. At the end of the day, when my brothers and I worked outside all day in the yard under the direction and supervision of our father, I would sometimes catch my father walking across the street and looking back at our property. And I asked him one time, why do you do that? What are you looking at? What are you looking for? And he said, I'm not really looking for anything. He said, I'm just standing there evaluating the fruits of our labor. I'm just evaluating what we accomplished today. There's a sense of accomplishment in work. If we're just going to, and they will continue to do so, reward people who find themselves in a dire situation. I don't have any problem with helping single moms out of a dire situation. I'm all for it. But I mentioned the other day, I don't even remember what it was. They were giving money to something, and I said, there's nothing in this story about jobs. There's nothing in this story about creating jobs programs for people. Because the way that you're going to get people out of poverty is to get them to understand something that they may not understand at this point in time, which is that work in and of itself has value. Sure, you get paid. Yes, that allows you to do other things. But there's an inner reward that sometimes people have to be, it sounds bad to say, forced or even coaxed, I would say encouraged to realize they maybe have never had the example set for them that my father set for me. My father set a great example for me. My father was a very hard worker. My mother was a very hard worker. They worked in factories, and, you know, if they lost their job, if there was a strike or a layoff or whatever, they like found another job. Was it a job that was beneath them? Yeah, my dad was a really, really gifted finished carpenter. My mom was super smart, valedictorian of her class. She worked in a factory. Why? Because she got married and she was like, I got to work. I got to work to provide for my family. I don't think a lot of people who find themselves evicted really understand that they have the capacity to provide for the children that they have or to provide for themselves. I'm not against giving someone a hand up, but they got to reach for the hand and they got to clasp the hand. And if government is just going to like throw money down a hole at people and say, well, it's not fair that you're getting evicted because you don't have a job or you've made bad decisions or you've gotten addicted to drugs or you've done this or you've done that. And I know there's some people that are in this situation through no fault of their own. But you know what? I really genuinely believe that the people who are homeless, it is a small percentage of them who have not engaged in bad decision making to land themselves there. And as long as the city just keeps giving them money to cover their bad decisions, they will never atone for those bad decisions and improve.
Shower thunderstorm, high 72. Evening thunderstorm tonight, otherwise cloudy, low 61. Clouds and showers, a thunderstorm for tomorrow, high at 72. Some breaks of sunshine by Thursday, warmer day, high at 84. And then mostly sunny or one-day Friday, high once again at 84. Thunderstorm on Saturday morning and partly sunny with a high of 77. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Do you want to feel younger, stronger, and full of life? At HealthSpan Clinics in Columbus, Ohio, their same-day stem cell therapy uses your cells to fight against aging naturally. With their Time Machine 3.0, you're in and out in one visit, recharged for vitality. Minimal downtime, maximum results. Learn more at health-span-clinics.com. Your healthier future starts now. HealthSpan Clinics. Live long, live well.
I'm CPA Brad Hemper with Premier Tax CPAs, and the true value of using a CPA is getting guidance throughout the year, not just at tax time. During the year, we can actively advise you on your financial and tax planning and other major business decisions, just like an outside CFO. Too often, when you see your accountant only at tax time, we're really only keeping score of what you did last year. We'll prepare a comprehensive tax plan to maximize your deductions and minimize the tax you pay, and present you with money-saving options you may not have ever considered. We'll update your financial position each quarter, so there are no nasty surprises at tax time. At Premier Tax CPAs, we like to have consultations with our clients throughout the year because important financial information is only useful if it's timely. At Premier Tax CPAs, we're a firm that can work with you and your business throughout the year to help you make decisions before it's too late. Give us a call at Premier Tax CPAs at 614-524-4888. That's 614-524-4888.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free, 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher, host of the Mike Gallagher Show here, and when it comes to mortgages, I only trust the team that's helped me and my family more than once, Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. These guys are friends, believers. They built a company on biblical values that actually puts you first. In today's economy, with everything costing more, you need a lender who can help you make smart strategic moves when it comes to real estate. Need cash for home improvements? Thinking about a HELOC or a refi to consolidate debt? Well, Fellowship Home Loans can help you do it faster and for less. Why? Because they're a direct lender, not a broker. No middleman, no unnecessary fees. That means fewer hoops, less waiting, and real answers from real people who care. Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or just exploring your options, Fellowship Home Loans will tailor everything to your unique needs. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Lenders, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
What does a waterfall have to do with us? How do mountains relate to? How is anything like? What's the similarity between? And the answer is they are all parts, because the National Park Service isn't just about unspoiled nature. It's also about history, recreation, remembrance, and so many other things. Find out what a park can do to you at findyourpark.com.
The Patriots Alaska cruise will be hosted by Mike Gallagher and Larry Elder. It leaves from Seattle on August the 16th and returns on August the 23rd. Let me run through the itinerary, see if this sounds great to you. If it does, go to travelwithsalem.com. So you're going to depart Washington, go through Puget Sound on Saturday, August the 16th. Sunday, you'll spend the day at sea, kind of get your sea legs. Monday, you'll be in Juneau, Alaska, and cruise the Stevens Passage. Tuesday, icy Strait Point with Glacier Bay, Sitka on Wednesday, Ketchikan on Thursday, Victoria, British Columbia on Friday, and then Saturday, you're back in port. This sounds like an awesome, awesome time. In fact, here's a guy who went before. He said, we'd always dreamed of seeing Alaska on a cruise. Inspiration made this the experience of a lifetime. That's the Holland America boat. I can't imagine another cruise in the future to Alaska without them. So book your passage today. Travelwithsalem.com, travelwithsalem.com. It is 6:21 p.m. in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where Donald Trump is right now, standing next to Mohammed bin Salman, the royal prince of Saudi Arabia. Trump is getting ready to speak at a U.S.-Saudi investment forum. It's not really a government trip. Trump's going, all the big business leaders from throughout the world are there. Trump is over there to get them to invest in America. He's already gotten a $1 trillion commitment from Saudi Arabia. This guy speaks their language. I mean, Donald Trump speaks the language of businessmen. Joe Biden, it's no wonder our country was in the dire shape that it was. Joe Biden never had a job in the private sector. Okay, this is my objection to people serving in government who've never had a job in the private sector. And then they, like these dopes on the Columbus City Council. I suppose some of them have had a job in the private sector. Maybe they haven't, but you're going to give $1.5 million to people who've been evicted to represent them in court. The program has a better chance of succeeding if you ingrain in people who have gotten themselves in the dire situation of being evicted that you need to work, you need to do something in exchange for us helping you. If we're just going to hand it to you, then you're going to probably not be incentivized to get out of the situation you're in. And there's never going to be enough money because evictions are going up. Like, why don't you do something to try to prevent evictions? Jobs programs. Maybe spend more on jobs programs than we spend on bike paths, okay? Maybe Franklin County commissioners spend more on jobs programs than donating $50,000 to Stonewall Columbus for the Pride Parade, okay? It's just my, I know you won't. Now, elsewhere, last night at Columbus City Council meeting, this Columbus City Council was more concerned about its standing with unions than it is about keeping your house from burning down and you burning up with it. I know, I'm not laughing at how dumb that, I am laughing at how dumb that is. The Columbus Firefighters Union does not want the city to buy a new fire truck from the Sutphen Corporation, which is located just outside Dublin, right along 33. If you're one of the, hundreds of thousands of people who get a good look at the Sutphen factory every year because of the stupid design of 33 going down from 4 lanes to 1 at the 270 North Outer Belt ramp, then you get a really intimate look at the Sutphen Corporation every single day. They build fire trucks out there. They've been in the midst of a labor dispute with their union at Sutphen since last October. So last night, Columbus Fire was hoping to get a new truck, a ladder truck, $2.5 million. They were hoping to get city council to greenlight that. But of course, if there's a union upset, city council's not going to greenlight that. So tell me if this makes sense to you. Hint, it won't. Columbus City Council instead voted to buy a different kind of fire truck from Pierce Manufacturing, which is a non-unionized company. So they're enslaved to unions. They don't want to offend the Sutphin union. So they're going to buy a fire truck from a non-union shop. Wouldn't it make more sense to just buy it from Sutphin, knowing that eventually the money that you spent, maybe if you spent $2.5 million with Sutphin, they could bridge the gap between what Sutphin is offering and what its firefighters union wants. I don't know, but it's Columbus City Council. Now, Jim Weicker has an interesting story in the Dispatch today talking about the obstacles for downtown Columbus's comeback. I've said before, I used to go downtown Columbus back in my dating life, which, boy, am I glad that's behind me. I love my wife. She's so awesome. I'm so glad I don't have to date anymore. Holy cow, what a miserable time. At any rate, Mr. Weicker says that downtown has been plugging away to recover from COVID, but it continues to face significant challenges. Okay, so I'm reading this. That's a first paragraph of the story. I don't dispute that downtown faces significant challenges in terms of people wanting to bring their businesses back to downtown Columbus, fill up the office buildings in downtown Columbus, make the empty buildings go away. But I was waiting to read, silly me, I was waiting to see what's the biggest obstacle. If I ask you the question, what's the biggest obstacle for downtown Columbus's comeback? Yeah, you probably said what I said, crime. Crime. Nobody wants to go where they don't feel safe, right? Do you feel safe in downtown Columbus? I don't. I don't go downtown anymore. I'd love to take my kids to a Blue Jackets game. Don't feel safe in the parking garages or anywhere else. Even on the street, I don't feel safe. So I don't go. It's the best way to stay safe is avoid danger. Okay. But that's never raised in this story about what could help Columbus come back downtown. Never raised, never brought up. Crime, not mentioned one time. But a bunch of vacant office buildings are mentioned. The guy who did the report, which he definitely did not do it for the city because he said things about the city that you would never be able to say in a report about the city, what it's doing wrong. His name is Mark Conti, who compiles the yearly State of Downtown reports as executive director of Capitol Crossroads and Discovery Special Improvement Districts. Impressive. He says the city lacks a real economic development plan for downtown. No, you don't say. Come on, Mr. Conti. Don't you know how brilliant our city council is? They're giving away money. They're giving away money. They're giving away guaranteed income to people, $500 a month, no strings attached. They're giving away free legal aid to people who've been evicted. The story and Mr. Conti's study goes on to say that all those vacant buildings downtown, which I'm thinking to myself, why don't they just convert those to housing? Now, they are converting some of them to housing. That would solve their, well, it wouldn't solve it, but it would at least maybe make a dent in what they say is their affordable housing problem. But Mr. Conti's report notes something very interesting. He says, we have this uneven playing field for office space downtown where the new builds on the peninsula are tax abated and have the benefit of public parking. But someone could invest millions in older buildings and not get a tax abatement. The city tends to incentivize the new stuff and let the old stuff rot. Does that make sense to anybody? It does not make sense to me. Can you build anything new today cheaper than you can in many cases, not in all cases? If you got asbestos problems or something like that, you probably can't renovate a building. But a lot of those buildings downtown could be renovated. But you know, if you're not going to get a tax abatement to do it, and I'm against tax abatements, by the way, but if you're not going to get a tax abatement to do it, why would you do it? You just build new and get the tax freebie from the city.
With SRN News, I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. President Trump has signed a host of economic and bilateral cooperation agreements in Saudi Arabia. It comes at the start of a 4-day Middle East trip. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman warmly greeted the president after his arrival today in Riyadh. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that he will be waiting for Russian President Vladimir Putin in the Turkish capital this week
to conduct face-to-face talks about the more than 3-year war between their countries. Putin has yet to say whether he will be at those talks. A small nodule has been found in former President Joe Biden's prostate during a routine physical exam. A short statement says the finding necessitated further evaluation. Biden's age and concerns about his health were cited by Democratic leaders who pressed him to abandon his re-election bid last year. This is SRN News.
Mike Gallagher here, host of the Mike Gallagher Show. If you know me, you know I only put my name behind people and companies I trust. When it comes to mortgages, I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. They're not just friends. They've done loans for me and my family. I've seen firsthand how they treat every client like their family. And these days, that personal touch really matters. With the cost of everything up, you might be looking for ways to free up cash. Maybe you're thinking about a cash-out refi or HELOC to finish some home projects, consolidate debt, or just get ahead financially. Fellowship is a full-service
HELOC. What do you know? HELOC stands for
that means faster
Home
decisions, fewer
Equity
fees,
Line
less stress.
of
Whether
Credit.
you're buying your first home, downsizing, or refinancing to get some breathing room, they'll tailor-fit the loan to your life. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. Or call 800-510-MIKE. 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, and MLS number.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer, anywhere you go. With The Answer's mobile app at 989theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers, tune in, or iHeart.
As you know, Mike Lindell has a passion to help everybody get the best sleep of their life. I should thank him personally. I sleep great on my MyPillow mattress topper, my Giza Dream bed sheets, and my MyPillow. Well, good news for you. Mike has not stopped by simply creating the best pillow. He's created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me. Like I said, not to brag, which is crucial for my busy schedule. But what about you? Well, here, great news. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dream bed sheets. Any size, any color, just $49.98. That's right. You can get Queen, King, Split King, Cow King, any size and any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, guess what? They're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive $100 in free digital gifts. So go to mypillow.com and use my promo code Bruce to get Giza Dream bed sheets at unheard of savings. mypillow.com, promo code Bruce. mypillow.com, promo code Bruce.
Here's great news. If you plan on attending Ohio Christian University as a new traditional student this fall semester at the Circleville campus, you can receive a $5,000 scholarship for only $2,500. That's right, get a $5,000 scholarship for only $2,500. One scholarship per student, and all Ohio Christian University admission requirements must be met. Learn more at 989theanswer.com or call RMAT at 612-216-5049.
He's one of the top 10 radio hosts in the country. He never varnishes his opinion. And now more than ever, you need to spend part of your day with a healthy dose of the Mike Gallagher Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
I know there are probably 3 big flooring retailers in town, and then there's a discount place where you got to be careful because you want to make sure you get enough. They run out, it's over because all they have are closeouts. But did you know that you have another option when it comes to flooring? I would say a better option, but you know, it's me. Go to brucehooley.com and click flooring. Why do I think I'm a better option than big box stores? Well, for one, I won't show up at your house in a vehicle that's wrapped with fancy signage because, you know, you as a consumer pay for that. I won't come from a high rent retail location because you as a consumer pay for that. I can get you the exact same products. We'll pay less for them because our trucks don't sit down at the mills in Georgia and wait till they're full to come back, which also plays into the fact that, you know, we can get the products quicker, and we employ our own installers to put them in and have accountability, but our guys are fantastic and you won't have to worry about accountability. You will at other big box stores. Just a few of the reasons why you'd be better off to go to brucehooley.com and click flooring, brucehooley.com and click flooring. President Trump at the podium in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's just past 6:30 there. He's speaking at a U.S.-Saudi investment forum. Let's see what the 47th president of the United States has to say for himself as we duck in live.
extraordinary generosity and warmth. I've never forgotten the exceptional hospitality showed to us by King Solomon, who's just, we talk about a great man. That is a great man. That is a great man, a great family. So that visit took place exactly 8 years ago. The graciousness of the royal family and the Saudi people is really unsurpassed, no matter where you go. Let me also thank the countless ministers, government officials, business leaders, and distinguished guests for that warm welcome.
So there's Trump. He's over there. It's a big investment for him. I know he's a butterer-upper, but I'll say it. You won't like it, but I'm going to say it. How would you feel if you were a 9/11 family and you heard that? I mean, I know he's got to say it, but I'm just saying the 9/11 terrorists were harbored in Saudi Arabia. Okay, they just were. All right. What else is he going to do on the Middle East trip? He's going to go to Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and maybe to Turkey on Saturday. Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine wants Trump to go there and broker, maybe referee, the peace talks between Vladimir Putin and Zelensky. J.D. Vance last week, the vice president of the United States, said that Zelensky and Putin hate each other so much that when you sit down to talk to them for an hour, the first half hour is just them talking about how much they hate each other. So maybe Trump could be of use in that situation. Here's a quote from Zelensky. He said, oh, wait a minute, is this Zelensky or Trump? This is Zelensky. Trump says, I'll fly there if they think it will be helpful. Zelensky says, I think good things can come out of that meeting. So there we go. All right. Now, a lot of people are mad that Trump is in the Middle East and that Trump is backing Israel. Israel has threatened Hamas. If you don't release all the hostages, we're going to come in. We're going to wipe out what's left in Gaza. I have no problem with that. I have never had a problem with what Israel is doing in Gaza because Gaza started it. Hamas, Palestinians, they all started it. You say, oh, the children. Yeah, it's unfortunate. People die in war. And it is also true that Hamas sympathizers, which is most of the population of Gaza, held hostages themselves in apartment buildings and homes. So no, I'm not going to listen to anybody on the Ohio State campus or anywhere else boo-hooing the condition of the people in Gaza, because you want an intifada revolution? How about you revolt against Hamas? How about you do that and live in peace? How about you do that? Okay, now, of course, that was never going to happen with Joe Biden in the White House. Not much good happened with Joe Biden in the White House. And I said all along that I wouldn't buy the books when they came out, but that I would delight in reading excerpts from them. And the next full disclosure look at the Biden administration is about to be published. It is called Original Sin: President Biden's Decline. It's the end of the paper's gone. Let me see. I'll get the title here for you. Yeah, it's Cover Up and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. Now, this is interesting that this is authored by CNN's Jake Tapper, who scolded Lara Trump when she said Joe Biden was cognitively unfit to be president. Jake Tapper's like, you're not a doctor. You don't know that. Now he's writing the book. Original Sin: President Biden's Decline, Its Cover Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. His co-author, Tapper's name's on the book just to sell it. The real author is probably Alex Thompson of Axios, which tells you that you should probably pay attention to what Axios excerpts from the book today, because Thompson works there. He probably gave Axios a copy of the book. And get this. Joe Biden's physical deterioration was so severe in 2023 and 2024 that advisors privately discussed the possibility he would need to use a wheelchair if he won re-election. Let's pause right there. So they're talking in private about Biden running for president in November of 2024. And they say, if he wins, he's probably not going to be able to stand up until 2028. And so we're going to have to move him around in a wheelchair. Had I been in the room, had you been in the room, had anybody with a functioning brain been in the room, we would have suggested maybe it's a good idea, if he's that infirm, that he not run for president if he can't stand up. No, that didn't occur to them. How they could manage it, that was all that mattered to them. Now, this book is based on interviews with 200 people. And of course, they claim to be Democratic insiders with knowledge of the events that unfolded over the final 2 years of Biden's presidency. Now they say, remember at the time, cheap fakes? Joe Biden, he's not stumbling on the beach. It's hard to walk on sand. He's not wandering away from the G7 leadership and talking to a non-existent person over there. He's not fascinated by a parachutist. No. Those are cheap fakes. Now, this book says, quote, Biden's physical deterioration, most apparent in his halting walk, had become so severe that there were internal discussions about putting the president in a wheelchair, but they couldn't do so until after the election. Remember Biden's doctor, Kevin O'Connor, all the time saying, he's great. He's great. Here's what the book says. Given Biden's age, his physician, Kevin O'Connor, also privately said that if he, Biden, had another bad fall, remember at the Air Force Academy, over the sandbag, a wheelchair might be necessary for what could be a difficult recovery. Wait, I thought he got more done in 15 minutes than the rest of us got done all day. I thought he was, what was the phrase again?
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
Intellectually, analytically. I guess he didn't say physically, so I guess we'll cut Joe Scarborough some slack right there. The book also says Biden's doctor, Kevin O'Connor, had long privately expressed concern about the toll the presidency was taking on Biden's health. Huh? That's news. It's not what they said. Crazy. Here's a Bernie Sanders guy, Faz Shakir. Faz says they should put Joe Biden in a wheelchair right now and wheel him somewhere where nobody can see him because he is hurting the Democrats by continuing to appear in public.
What has been hurting the Democratic brand, as we talked about before, Dan, is that there's a lack of integrity and conviction and honesty.
You think?
That it's been hurting that Democratic brand, and it still is to this day because of some of these instances. But there's Bernie Sanders is probably more popular than he's ever been, both within the Democratic Party and out there in the country, because there's a sense of honesty and integrity associated with him. And so if you're looking at a direction for a Democratic Party, it's fighting for people who are about to lose Medicaid, about 10 million, according to the budget office.
That's a
good
lie.
place. But people have to trust that the Democrats are going to do something about it when you're in office. And unfortunately, we're still suffering from the tailwinds of how Biden operated.
That's a good idea. Bernie Sanders is 83. He's old. He's older than Joe Biden. Now, Bernie is very robust. He eats tapioca every day. He appears on the campaign trail. AOC. Yes, well, maybe Bernie is what ails. The cure for what ails the Democratic Party. That only Democrats could come up with that strategy. What are we going to do about running a candidate who's really old? I know. We'll run an older guy.
Cloudy this afternoon, showers, thunderstorm, a high 72. Evening thunderstorm tonight, otherwise cloudy, low 61. Clouds and showers, a thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high at 72. Some breaks of sunshine by Thursday, warmer day, high at 84. And then mostly sunny, a warm day Friday, the high once again at 84. Thunderstorm on Saturday morning, and partly sunny with a high at 77. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
You tried counting sheep, warm glasses of milk, even those weird meditation apps, right? But now it's time to stop trying and start sleeping again. Z Factor from Relief Factor offers a real solution for sleepless nights. It goes beyond melatonin and uses a combination of 4 natural ingredients. It helps relax your mind so you can fall asleep quicker and then helps you sleep soundly through the night. Give Z Factor a try. Right now, you'll pay only $19.95 for a 30-day supply. Z Factor is 100% drug-free, so it's safe to take regularly. Plus, there's no groggy when you wake up. Z Factor's from Relief Factor. You know their reputation. You can count on the science behind Z Factor. So if you're looking for better Z's, give Z Factor a try. Right now, you'll pay only $19.95 for a 30-day supply. That's a 46% savings. Call 800-4RELIEF. 800-4RELIEF. That's 800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Better sleep without drugs. See how Z Factor can help you get the Z's you need.
Planning for retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10 and 2 for Retire Ready Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies that just might change the course of your retirement. Listen every Saturday at 10 and 2 to Retire Ready Ohio with Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group. The firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Peters Wealth Group, a state-registered investment advisor.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down, sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Owning a home is a dream come true, but keeping it comfortable? Temperature Pro understands that your HVAC system is the heart of your home's comfort. When it needs attention, you deserve service that's fast, transparent, and reliable. More than just a repair company, they're your home's partner, offering professional service that respects your space and your family. For routine maintenance or an unexpected breakdown, trust Temperature Pro to keep your home running smoothly with no surprises on pricing. Temperature Pro, your comfort is our promise.
You can hear this today at PragerTopia.com.
Paul, welcome back to the Dennis Prager Show.
Hey, Dennis, it's great to be on with you. Thank you for all your great work. But here we are, we're in a cancel culture today, Dennis, right? Where any statement that anybody ever made in the past, any attitude, any sort of racial statement can get you canceled.
Hear the entire episode. It's for PragerTopia members only. Go to PragerTopia.com.
Discount Shopping Club at 989theanswer.com is a great place for you to save money if you're looking for a place for your student to attend college in the fall. Well, the Discount Shopping Club affords you 2 very good local options, Valor Christian University and Ohio Christian University. You don't need to worry at either place about your student being indoctrinated into the kind of stuff that is just absolutely nightmarish for parents who send their kids away to a state university. No, at Ohio Christian University, Valor Christian University, they'll have a stronger biblical foundation when they come back than they had when they left. That is part of the curriculum at each school, and they'll have godly behavior modeled for them, not just by other students who probably have a lot more in common with your kid if you've raised them to love the Lord than they would if they go to a college campus where who knows how they could be influenced. So Discount Shopping Club also has air conditioners and mattresses. Temperature Pro Columbus, Mac Mattress Outlet, reputable businesses. Do business with them and save money. Discount Shopping Club, 989theanswer.com. Would you like more from the soon-to-be-published Jake Tapper, Alex Thompson book, Original Sin, about the decline of Joe Biden in the White House? Oh, there's more. I want more. So you're gonna have to live through it. If you're tired of it, too bad. Biden's team had increasing fears that he would fall after he tripped over a sandbag at the Air Force Academy in June of 2023, and they began taking more precautions to prevent a repeat of that. What were some of the precautions? They tried to figure out shorter walking paths for him. Now that's a problem because, he went on vacation every weekend, well, every Friday afternoon. And as far as I know, it's not possible to land Marine One any closer to the White House than they already do it. Nor is it possible to move the White House closer. And it would have looked bad, of course, if they drove him out to Marine One in a golf cart. So what did they do? They surrounded him. Remember this? They surrounded him with aides so that you couldn't see him if he stumbled, although that was a fool's errand because if he fell down, there was no way to hide that. But they started looking at shorter walking paths. What else? What's option 2? Insisting on handrails for steps up to the stage at his appearances. Taking the short stairs on Air Force One. Having him wear sneakers more often. And I love this. They changed his visual briefings before events to ensure that he knew every step he was expected to take and guided him more carefully through his movements. The one thing they couldn't do was ingrain any of those instructions in Joe Biden's mind longer than the duration of his remarks, because how many times did we see Joe Biden finish a speech and see him turn to the left and then turn to the right and kind of point do I go this way? Do I go that way? Wait, there's an imaginary person here I want to shake hands with. All of us saw that. They told us we weren't seeing it. They told us everything was fine. This is an epic scandal. Who was running the country? See, we got to connect the dots here. He was incapable. That much we know. They're telling us now. Why are they telling us this now? Because now they'd like to make more money. That's why. At the time, they had no interest in telling us the truth for several reasons. They had no bench. You saw who was in the on-deck circle after they pulled Joe Biden out of the lineup, right? Oh, there's some stuff in this book about Kamala Harris as well. David Plouffe. Sounds like poof, which is pretty much all there was to Kamala Harris between the ears. Poof, nothing. David Plouffe, or Pluff, is quoted in the new book saying very unkind things about Joe Biden. He says that the 107-day campaign Kamala Harris was, quote, forced to run. Why was she forced to run it? Oh, that's right, because you kept telling us Joe Biden was fine. Was a bleeping nightmare. And he blames it all on Biden, who he says totally bleeped us. Another strategist, quoted in the book, says Biden's attempt to run again was an abomination. And that person says he stole an election from the Democratic Party. He stole it from the American people. I thought that was wrong to say that somebody stole an election. Anyway. They also put forward in the book, both these people, Plouffe and this other unnamed aide, that America would have elected Kamala Harris president if only they had been able to see her for a longer period of time. Which, let me just reflect on that a moment. It has not been so long since her campaign tanked that I've forgotten the anxiety that I felt early in her campaign when, remember, she nosed ahead of Donald Trump in the polls. Why did she nose ahead of Donald Trump in the polls? Because for the first 40 days, all we got was she was brat and she was a wine mom and she was, but she wasn't doing any interviews. She wasn't doing a single interview. She didn't do a single interview for 40 days. But then there were too many days left in the campaign for her to continue to hide. And there were too many questions about inconsistent positions she had taken over the years. And so she eventually had to come out and talk. And when she came out and talked, she unfortunately opened her mouth. And even more unfortunately, words came out. And even more unfortunately, people realized we can't have her as president. And so Donald Trump won the popular vote, first Republican in 20 years to do so, and he won all 7 swing states. And we were saved, I'll say it, a worse presidency than Joe Biden. We were saved a worse presidency than Joe Biden. So there we go. Now, you got to love it. There are some people who just can't ever get out of the quicksand. Once they jump in, they're all in. And there is an aide in this book who says of Joe Biden, yes, there were physical changes as he got older, but evidence of aging is not evidence of mental incapacity. And so far, the person says, we are still waiting for anyone to point out where Joe Biden had to make a presidential decision or make a presidential address where he was unable to do his job because of mental decline. In fact, this aide says, the evidence points to the opposite. He was a very effective president. Now, I don't know. Maybe I have too high of a standard here. But I would think a key component of an effective presidency is to not get any of your soldiers killed. And then if you do, say 13 of them in a bombing at Hamid Karzai Airport, that should bother you at least enough that you wouldn't totally forget it when you go on the debate stage June the 27th, more than a year later, and say, no American, I'm the only president. No American service people have died on my watch. Forgot the 13 in Kabul, forgot the 2 who were killed by the Houthis, forgot them. They didn't matter to him. Of course they didn't, because, he couldn't remember. You can absolve him of blame for that because his mind was oatmeal, or if you do that, you have to blame the people who didn't step in and 25th Amendment him. And one of those was Kamala Harris. And one of those was Ron Klain, his chief of staff. And one of those was no doubt anybody else who saw him in the White House, and everybody who's quoted in this book. Everybody who's quoted in this book, because they're all talking about his decline. And they all saw it, and none of them had the courage of their convictions. None of them, I'll say it, loved their country enough to stand up, step up, and say something about it. No. They all wanted to continue the ruse because Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump. Oh, we got to have Joe Biden as president, because if we have Joe Biden as president, sure, he can't walk and he can't talk and he can't think, but he's not Donald Trump. So that was their qualification. Anybody but Trump. And we'd still have an open border. We'd still have higher gas prices. We'd still be a laughingstock on the world stage. So, again, we have a tendency to rest on issues of the moment rather than issues of the past. Remember how anxious you were on November the 5th? That morning you woke up, pit of your stomach? We're not going to elect her, are we? Don't forget, give thanks for the fact that we did not do that. God was looking out for us.
This is a police officer's family, happily getting ready for work and school. Sadly, some police officers don't make it home because motorists don't move over for emergency vehicles on the shoulder.
I'm Ohio Patrol Police President Jay McDonald. There are too many injuries and even deaths because drivers don't move over. When you see
Joe, thank you for your comments on social media. I appreciate that very much.
Move over for more information.
My Bernie Sanders needs work, but I appreciate your kind words.
This is a public service.
Everybody have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.
You made it through another nasty Ohio winter. But let's be honest, there's something in your home that will kind of struggle through it. Yeah, it's your furnace.